Good evening, Internet. I do hope this finds you well. My name is James Martin. You are watching JM Guitar Tuition. This is 0 Point Guitar TV, and this is the video playlist that I'm putting together and filming to complement my guitar book, 0 Point Guitar, here, which is designed to take you from absolute beginner all the way up to being able to competently and confidently go and hold your own in a band open mic like situation, designed to give you all the practical skills that you need and not burden you with anything that you don't need. Now, in this first video, what we're going to do is take a little look at the guitar itself, establish which bit is which, what bit is what, which bit is where, so that in subsequent videos, when I say put your first finger on the 3rd fret of the G string, you're going to know what the fret is, which one the 3rd is, which one the G string is, and we're going to be far better able to understand one another. So let's begin by taking a look at the electric guitar, which is what I have here. So a quick run through of what we have physically. This is the body, as you can probably imagine. This is the neck. Again, doesn't take a great deal of imagination to understand why. This is the fretboard, this part here facing towards the camera with the dots embedded in it, and these little fellas here, these little metal wires embedded vertically along the body, along the neck, are the frets themselves, and we're going to use those to help change the pitch of the notes that we play. You must have seen this part here. This is the headstock, and these 6 little fellas here, these are known as the machine heads or tuning pegs, and these are responsible for tuning the strings, making sure they get up to the pitch required of them. Some more bits and pieces of interest. This thing here is the nut. You'll be able to see this here where the strings go from the neck over onto the headstock. This is the thing that they pass through the nut. And then down here we have the bridge. This is where the strings cross down into the body, and these things here are the string saddles, so named because the strings sit in them. And then the stars of the show, the strings themselves. Now, each string is named after the note that it's tuned to. So these are the E, A, D, G, B, and confusingly another E string. This is the low E, so named because it produces the highest pitch note. Excuse me. This is the low E, so named because it produces the lowest pitch note. This is the high E, so named because it produces the highest pitch note. And then in between, as I say, we have E, A, D, G, B, E. Really good way of remembering this. Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. And I always like to think in terms of going low to high in pitch. I think keeping things consistent, that makes things an awful lot easier. Hence, when we're going to talk about going up the neck, as you can hear, the notes get higher as we get towards the body of the guitar, so we call that way up. And conversely, that way is down towards the headstock as the notes get lower. Okay, talking about tuning now, being in tune is crucial, and having a guitar that holds tune is crucial. There is nothing more detrimental to morale when you're learning the guitar than a guitar that won't hold its tune. If you followed your chord diagrams, if you followed your book, your instructional video, your teacher correctly, and you think, I know my hands are in the right place but I'm still not getting the right sound, it's because your guitar isn't tuned. Now, in good time you will learn to tune by ear, and there are lots of ways that you can do that, but to begin with, it's not going to work. You're going to spend an awful lot of time and an awful lot of frustration, and you can spare yourself all that by getting yourself one of these little fellas here. Now, this is a clip-on tuner, and it clips onto the guitar's headstock like so. As you can see, this one has seen better days, but that's okay. And you should still be able to see the function. Now let's switch it on, and you'll be able to you'll be able to see that the clip's gone. Okay, so what we'll do here is we'll just improvise a little bit. Now you can see there that I'm getting an E note, and the needle is more or less in the center of the dial, so that we are basically there and in tune. Same thing there with that B. G's a little flat, we'll tension that string up a little bit. There we go, that's got it. And then the D, that's a little bit flat too, let's bring that up a touch. A, yeah, that's about there, and E. Convention is that if the needle is to the left of the note, that means it's flat and you've got to tension the string up a little bit. If it's to the right, it's a little bit sharp, you've got to bring that string down a little bit, you've got to loosen it off a little bit. Okay, there are plenty of alternate tunings on the guitar, but I really wouldn't bother with them to start with. What the standard tuning, what's sometimes called Spanish tuning, has evolved simply because it's the easiest to play. Okay, now next up then, let's talk a little bit about the changing the sound on the electric guitar. Now, we have on a guitar like this, which is called a Stratocaster. As you can see there, I've got 3 pickups. These things here, and they are so named because they literally pick up the sound. Effectively, what each of these little dots is a very small microphone, and you'll be able to hear differences in the sound depending on which one is selected. So I'm going to select this one here, the neck, by pushing this little switch fully forward. So this selects this one here, which is closest to the neck, and you can hear that a lot calmer, a lot more mellower sounding. I'm going to go the other way and switch to the bridge pickup, which is this one here right at the back. This is straight away a lot raunchier and angrier and a lot twangier sounding. And then we can go in between them now. I'm just going to clean up my sound a little bit. More on how to do that in a second. And so now I've got bridge and middle, neck and middle selected there, and it's a lot more gentle and flowing. Let's switch the middle itself. That's a little bit more nondescript. It's a little bit of a jack of all trades, but it's still a pleasant sound to have. Then I have bridge and middle together, so that's these two here. And you'll hear this is going to give me a sort of a twangy. Type sound, so much better, great for country and western, that type of twangy bluesy sound. And as a result, when I switch back to the bridge itself, you can hear that that's a real twangy, bitey sound. Move to the amp. There are a couple more controls to have a look at. We have here the volume control. Probably don't need to explain to you what that does. You have it rolled back, and you roll it in, and we go from silent to louder. When you're learning the guitar, it's quite handy to be able to do that and play it quietly, because obviously when you're learning an instrument you're going to make a lot of mistakes, you're going to play a lot of wrong notes, and that's fine, but it's always nice to be able to do that quietly without ever having to admit to anyone that you've played a bit of a dodgy note. Then we have the tone note controls here, and you can hear, if I have this fully up, I have quite a nice crisp sound, but if I roll it back, roll the treble away, it becomes a lot more muddy, a lot more wooden. Now, you might have heard the volume drop away. That won't happen on your guitar because I didn't wire your guitar up. So that covers pretty much all the tonal controls on the electric guitar itself, but of course on an electric guitar that's only half the equation. The other half is the amplifier. Now, right now I'm using a software amplifier, but I can still illustrate the basic controls. So you have here volume. Don't really need to explain what that one does. Treble, middle and bass. These are all going to be fairly familiar if you've got a hi-fi. Treble is those high-end, clear, crisp sounds. Bass is the low thud. Middle is all the stuff in between. Presence is kind of like an extra little bit of top end. And then the drive, that just defines how clean or how thick and saturated the sound is. And then you have, there's a load of pedals and things that we can also add into the same, but we're simply not going to bother with any of that stuff now. Most likely your amp comes with a function called reverb. I'm just going to illustrate what that does here. So here we have a nice big chunk of reverb dialed into the mix. There we go. And you'll notice that just by the application of that little bit of reverb, I now sound an awful lot more talented. And that's really what reverb does. It provides a sense of atmosphere to everything that you play. Okay, now this is an electric guitar. However, you may also have one of these. These are acoustic guitars. I'm just going to take you through what we have here. This first one, this is a steel strum acoustic guitar. Which I could have tuned, which I thought I had tuned. And this is great for strumming chords. Fingerstyle. All that kind of good stuff. And although I don't recommend these to beginners simply because they're physically harder to play, but a good acoustic is a lovely sounding instrument. However, if you have bought one of these, not to worry, all the notes are in the same place, all the same chords, all the same scale patterns and everything like that. Everything that you play on an acoustic, on an electric guitar, excuse me, you can also play on an acoustic guitar. It can just sometimes be a little bit more difficult. However, a good trick is take it to your friendly local music shop and have them put the lightest gauge possible strings on for you, and that's going to help make matters a little easier. It's going to make it physically less tricky to squeeze down all those chunks of metal there, and generally make the whole experience a little bit less difficult in those early days. If you are a small person, also known as a child, you most likely have something like this. Now this is a nylon string acoustic guitar, which I have unaccountably left in drop D tuning. Now these have the advantage of being a lot more comfortable to play than a steel strung acoustic, and being the cheapest type of guitar that you can generally play. However, they're not really great for strumming chords. They're not really great for bluesy lead playing, because they're simply not designed for that. They are actually fairly specialist, fairly niche instruments for playing things like classical music. Or flamenco. Or some kind of Latin jazz styles. But not to worry, if Mummy and Daddy didn't quite love you enough to buy you a Fender Custom Shop Stratocaster as your first guitar, you are going to be absolutely fine with one of these. Any of these types of guitars are going to be absolutely fine to get started on. To begin with, we will be looking at simple riffs and chords. So these are the kind of things that you can play on absolutely any type of guitar. And from there, we will gradually get into things that are a little bit more intricate. And maybe 6 months to a year down the line, you want to think about changing to an electric. That's fine. That gives you 6 months to a year to get a job. So there we are. I think that's pretty much covered everything. If there are any questions, anything I've missed, please do leave a comment below. I'm very happy to engage with any questions that anyone's got. And well, for now then, I shall bid you adieu. Good day, Internet, and I will see you again for the next one. All the best.